Today, ladies and gentlemen, I bring you the news in such a way that is pure shit talk, unlike your establishment news entertainers. Also, unlike your favorite establishment news entertainers, I will not be reporting on COVID-19 with an update that you've already been aware of for X amount of days because of just... I can't, because that's all the news that you're getting. And it's not even news or updates, it's just the daily death toll and what are we doing to prevent the spread, and we're so proud of you as a nation for maintaining this quarantine in this hard time. I'll use it to build on butts of jokes here and there, but frankly, I'm not going to be covering anything Wu Flu related in this episode of Weebo Hot Takes. I'm sick of it, you're sick of it, the world is quite literally sick of it. I will not be contributing to the giant shit pile that is the Wu Flu. You're welcome. So, it seems that there was a lot of election-related news this month, and I'd love to go over every agonizing detail of it, but I feel that it gets summed up quite eloquently with just a few simple notes. Roll it. Another one bites the dust. And so we find ourselves yet still enthralled in the middle of a throwback to the 2016 election, wherein we have an establishment, an elderly establishment, ex-White House insider with questionable health versus an elderly lifetime socialist politician with also very questionable health, in a race against time, quite literally, because there are no guarantees that either of these gentlemen will be surviving the current pandemic at the end of all of this. Let's be honest. And not that it matters now, given circumstances and whatnot, but Joe Biden, in the biggest big-brained move to have ever blocked my view in a movie theater premiere, also communicated to the public, the general populace, that he has absolutely no interest in getting that pro-Second Amendment vote after he promised to put Beto O'Rourke in charge of gun control when he's president. You know, Beto. The same guy who said on national television, I believe, during a primary debate that he would take legally purchased firearms away from law-abiding American citizens.
I do want to come to Congressman O'Rourke because I know this is personal to you. El Paso is your hometown. Some on this stage have suggested a voluntary buyback for guns in this country. You've gone further. You said, quote, Americans who own AR-15s and AK-47s will have to sell them to the government, all of them. You know the critics call this confiscation. Are you proposing taking away their guns, and how would this work?
I am, if it's a weapon that was designed to kill people on a battlefield. If the high-impact, high-velocity round, when it hits your body, shreds everything inside of your body because it was designed to do that so that you would bleed to death on a battlefield and not be able to get up and kill one of our soldiers. When we see that being used against children, and in Odessa, I met the mother of a 15-year-old girl who was shot by an AR-15, and that mother watched her bleed to death over the course of an hour because so many other people were shot by that AR-15 in Odessa and Midland. There weren't enough ambulances to get to them in time. Hell yes, we're gonna take your AR-15, your AK-47. We're not gonna allow it to be used against our fellow Americans anymore.
Yeah. That guy. Slight transition, but still tangentially related in non-election related politics. In a ruling where simply wrapping my mind around why we needed it in the first place is giving me an aneurysm, a divided Supreme Court has determined that yes, you can in fact be prosecuted for committing identity fraud and or theft. No shit. I'm gonna need Nick Rickay to help me wrangle my mind around this one, ladies and gentlemen. Did the fact that the people committing a crime multiplied by the fact that said people were in the country already illegally turn everything hunky-dory on us? Is that what I'm hearing? Do two illegal acts equal a legal act? Is that something that you learned about in lawyer school that I'm not aware of? Because I would have thought otherwise, but here we are. I've heard talk of double jeopardy, where you can't be prosecuted for the exact same crime twice, but this, where you can't be prosecuted because you've committed two separate crimes altogether, is just mind-boggling to me. Also, apparently, marital affairs are okie dokie to commit if you have an anxiety problem. Source: Bill, I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Clinton, because a little old Hillary wrath never hurt no one, right? I mean, everyone knows that threatening the respectability of the good name of Clinton is simply akin to popping a Xanax. Just ask the likes of Vincent W. Foster and Seth Rich and Jeffrey Epstein. Wait. You can't. You thought that the best way to manage your anxieties was to enter into an affair while maintaining a position in the White House, the President of the United States, no less. I've heard hogwash before, but the likes of this, they've never come close. Surely you jest, sir. Surely. And speaking of pedophiles, let's have a quick update about the Clintons' most recent victim, Mr. Jeffrey Epstein, why don't we? Now, initially His Esteemed Highness, the Prince Andrew, Duke of York, and once friend of Jeffrey Epstein, who had initially publicly offered to cooperate in investigations into Epstein's co-conspirators, is a two-faced liar. Shocker. Because it seems that, contrary to said public declaration, the door for cooperation has since been shut very tightly to investigators. It seems that not even royalty is safe from the ire of the Clintons, after all. Who would have thunk? In addition to that, one Ghislaine Maxwell, the former girlfriend and longtime associate of our deceased creeper and alleged guilty party and privy member to illicit activity, finds herself seeking legal reimbursement for security costs from Epstein's estate after threats to her life, which is not surprising, considering she probably has a lot of dirt on the departed and his former business contracts. So, and then in politically correct news, we have exactly one hot-button numbskullery issue to parse through, so we'd better get going. This month we saw the proposition that mandated diversity is simply not good enough for the cause. Who would have thunk? I mean, having diversity present in the room is simply not enough, after all. To achieve the panacea of diversity, the color of a person's skin, or the constitution of their genitals, or the intricacies of a person's dating life are simply not the endpoint for which problems to diversity sensitivity get fixed. Who could have thunk this? It takes more. Like, for instance, thought control. Don't just change race and gender, change their hearts and minds too, why don't you? Through forcing people to actively engage in the, quote, right think and correct speak in all facets of their lives, or risk the wrath of modern-day news entertainers, why don't we? And finally, we come to the entertainment portion of this video, which I am particularly excited about, because this means that I get to unleash full Weebo. Oh boy, do I have a doozy for you. Meet the New Warriors. Mentees, a ragtag group of under 21-year-olds brought to you by the 21st century. Let's take a deep dive down this rabbit hole, why don't we? There's no possible way any of this is actually legitimate in any capacity, but we're gonna have fun with it anyway. First off, we have Dora the Explorer, a foster kid who's not afraid to get into it because, wouldn't you know it, Dora the foster kid has a magic backpack from her grandfather. Okay, next up we have the Internet Explorer, who once upon a time was exposed to computer farts, courtesy of his grandfather, and gave him the powers of current-day teenager with access to a smartphone. Riveting stuff. Moving on. No superhero team is, of course, complete without a pair of twins, and we have our androgynous pair of cringe terms who look like they were just shat out of a bubblegum factory. The they-them with the obvious lady hips and blue hair, because we do not conform to gender stereotypes. No siree. Has the power of snowflakes, you know, those things that fall gracefully from the sky and melt at the slightest temperature fluctuation. And then he/him, with the pink accents, has the most useless power of them all. Circumstantial force field generation. Wherein the circumstance is that he has to be already in the throes of danger and protecting somebody else. Not himself. Someone else. Okay. And then if you ask me, based on this promo picture, the bubblegum twins have a little more than simply twin powers going on between them here. Incest. Excuse me. And last but not least, we have the other staple of underage teenage vigilantism, the emo, goth, kid, who not only shouldn't exist due to canon character traits set up ages ago in another completely removed member of the Marvel comic book universe, Michael Morbius, but has, quote, very similar vampire powers. And that's the news. Join me next month when we discuss who the fuck knows what, if we still have a planet to come back to and a society to report on. I'm your host, Weebo Jones, and you've just seen Weebo Hot Takes.